Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about manual scavenging and the technological interventions required for removing the menace of manual scavenging. What is this manual scavenging? It is a practice where an individual enters the septic tank to clean the human excreta. Let's look at statistics with reference to India as given by the Ministry of Social Justice on empowerment in the Lok Sabha. According to this ministry, it has clearly gone on to state for a period of 5 years up until December 31st, 2030, there have been 340 deaths due to manual scavenging. This includes 52 from the state of Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu has 43 cases, Delhi had 36 cases, Maharashtra had 34 cases, Gujarat and Haryana had 31 each, which means that as many as 19 states and union territories had people who lost their lives because they happened to enter into these septic tanks, which is completely barred in laws. What are the major problems? Why do we have these manual scavengers continue lose their lives? That is because of two important reasons. What are these reasons? One happens to be the caste bias that has been persisting in India. When it comes to the social setup that we have in India, we have the so-called upper caste, the so-called lower caste, which have been perpetuating from a time immemorial. What happens? You have the upper caste who are allowed to do certain kind of jobs, but all the lower rank jobs are given to the so-called lower caste. Few castes in the lower caste are given this job of cleaning the excreta, removing the night soil, and it is these individuals who continue to be employed in such a manual scavenging work. So, what is the major problem? The major problem is that we have the so called upper caste and the lower caste, and it is the lower caste who are asked to do these kind of abysmal jobs when it comes to the human excreta. Apart from this, when it comes to laws, we have the laws that are already in place. We have number of laws which have barred manual scavenging. In fact, there are multiple Supreme Court judgments as well, which have also asked the government to take multiple precautionary measures as well. In spite of these laws, in spite of the Supreme Court calling, why do we have the issue? That is because of lack of implementation of laws and at the same time cost cutting as well. What is this cost cutting that we are speaking about? As we just discussed, there are multiple laws in picture. These laws will have to be enforced, implemented, executed by the executive authorities. But what happens? There is a close nexus between the contractors as well as the executive authorities. According to law, whenever a person is entering a septic tank, he has to be provided with ventilators, gas concentration detectors, gloves, face masks, so on and so forth, in order to make sure that the costs are comparatively reduced for the contractors. Indirectly, this is paving way for the corruption. What happens? There is an individual who is not given any of these safety equipments but instead asked to enter the septic tank without these equipments. As a result, you have these workers who enter into these gas chambers, and ultimately you have these workers entering into the septic tanks without these safety equipments, ultimately lose their lives. So the minute an individual enters into the septic tanks, he enters an environment which is filled with sure gases. What are these gases? This is nothing but the gaseous products that which is present in the septic tanks together is what is called as sewer gases. When it comes to the sewer gases, there are two issues that we find here. One is the chemical issue, the other happens to be the biological issue. What is the chemical issue that happens in the septic tanks? Because there are large number of gases in the septic tank, a human being entering this particular gas chamber will have to witness lot number of gases. He inhales a lot number of gases, and one of the toxic gas in the septic tank happens to be hydrogen sulfide. The minute he enters into this environment, there is gas leak that happens. This may lead to nausea, this may lead to delirium, this may lead to convulsions, and ultimately it may also be a skin and an eye irritant for an individual who has entered that septic tank. Added to this, a person may also go through pulmonary edema. What is this pulmonary edema? This is an abnormal buildup of fluid in the lungs. As a result, a person who is entering the septic tank will have chemical consequences which might result in all these irritations to that particular person. we also have the biological issues as well. What are these biological issues? The minute he enters into septic tank, it is a breeding ground for number of bacteria, viruses and also parasites as well. Since he is not provided any of these equipments, he enters into this particular area, and ultimately what would happen? The fecal load is high in all these cases, so there is formation of bacteria, viruses and parasites which can cause diarrhea, nausea, fever, jaundice, typhoid and other ailments to this particular person, which is why we have the Supreme Court of India call this septic tank as a gas chamber, and in fact had criticized the government in number of cases where it said in no country people are sent to these gas chambers to die. Every month 4 to 5 persons are losing their lives in manual scavenging, and such was the scathing criticism given by the Supreme Court of India. So in spite of the laws, we do have issues when it comes to the manual scavenging. So what does the government do? The government already has come up with number of laws, but the government also comes up with Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge. What is the Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge? This is an initiative undertaken by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. What happens under this particular initiative? If there is one of the metropolitan cities or you have urban local bodies, they are asked to adopt mechanized cleaning of the septic tanks. So what is happening here? There is a particular urban local body. The urban local body will not have to employ these individuals or people directly into the septic tanks until and unless it is an exceptional scenario. Even if the people have to enter this particular situation in an exceptional situation, in such a case precautionary measures will have to be taken, safety equipments will have to be given, and at the same time there has to be an ambulance in case there is an emergency situation. So the initiative is aimed to ensure that no person enters the septic tank unless and until there is an unavoidable circumstance, and at the same time what we require is making use of the technological interventions. What happens in the present system? In the present system, you have people entering the septic tanks. In fact, showers and septic tanks are cleaned with the help of suction and jetting machines using primarily the force of water to clean the septic tanks. But this is not helping out. So what we require is the technological interventions. So one such technological intervention that we have is undertaken in IIT Madras, where they have come up with one of the instruments or the equipment called as HOMOSEP. What is this HOMOSEP? It stands for homogenizer of septic tanks. As you can see from the image, this is like an inverted umbrella. What would happen? This would have a shaft attached to the blades that can open like an inverted umbrella when introduced into the septic tank. Why have they come up with this mechanism? If you see a manhole, what you would have is the radius, which is very small at the opening of the septic tanks, but as you go deeper and deeper it opens up. So what you have is a much better radius. So the openings of the septic tanks are small and the tank interiors are much bigger. So when you're dipping in this particular shaft, it will be a narrow one, but when it enters it can be opened up with the help of the mechanism where it opens like an umbrella, and the fecal matter that has thickened over a period of time, which has turned into hard clay settled at the bottom, will ultimately be removed with the help of suction and pressure. So what does this instrument do? It can clean the sludge that settles at the bottom of the septic tanks after years of accumulation of the fecal matter. This is what this article speak about, and apart from this there have been other interventions in the past as well, and one such initiative has been called as the Bandicoot. What is this Bandicoot? There is a startup in Thiruvananthapuram which is called as Gent Robotics. This happens to be one of the robo introduced by that particular startup, where the device is operated by a human. It can guide the device to clean the clog normally done by the humans, and ultimately the sludge or the excreta can be removed with the help of these equipment. So remember, these are the innovations that have been undertaken by different startups and different colleges, so that the menace of manual scavenging is ultimately overcome over a period of time. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the transfer of the High Court judges. We have discussed about this issue in our last couple of CNAs. But what are we going to discuss today? We will take up three important landmark judgments of the Supreme Court of India and look at what are the viewpoints of the Supreme Court of India when it comes to the transfer of the judges and what should be the way forward when it comes to the changes that have to be introduced when it comes to the transfer of the judges. When we look into the landmark judgments of the Supreme Court of India, we have Union of India versus Sankal Chand Himachal Sheth, which happened in the year 1977. What happened in this case? The Supreme Court of India was asked a question about the consent of the judge being transferred from one high court to another. Should the judge consent be taken when he is being transferred from one high court to another? So the Supreme Court of India did clarify that the consent of the high court judge need not be taken by the president, and only thing that matters in this case is the public interest. If public interest paradigm, if public interest is met in such a situation, the consent of the High Court judge need not be taken, said the Union of India versus Sankal Chand Himachal Sheth. The next important landmark judgment given by the Supreme Court of India was in SP Gupta versus the President of India. What was this question all about? The President asks a question to the Chief Justice of India. So the question and the viewpoints taken by the Chief Justice of India, should the President comply by it or it is just the consultation process. In the first judge's case or the judge's transfer case, the Supreme Court of India clearly said that if the President of India consults the Chief Justice of the country in such a position, it is mere consultation and not concurrence, said the Supreme Court of India. So this means that more power was given to the executive and it emphasized the primacy of executive in the matter of appointments and the transfers. But in the second judge's case, what did the Supreme Court say? The Supreme Court clearly went on to say that views of the senior most judges will also have to be taken into picture, since then it is the appointment which is made by the collegium. So what is the present system? Under the present collegium system, the transfer of a Chief Justice of a High Court and the judge of a High Court can happen when the Chief Justice of India decides whose opinion in this particular regard is determinative, and all transfers are generally done in the public interest. The opinion and the consent of the High Court judge is not required. But if a judge from a particular High Court is transferred who is not a Chief Justice of that High Court, then the Chief Justice of India will have to take the views of the Chief Justice of that relevant High Court as well as the viewpoints of the Chief Justice to which this judge is being transferred to. So what is the way forward? Since we have already discussed the controversies with respect to the transfer of the judges, what is the way forward? What are the solutions to it? How can we ensure that there is transparency when it comes to the appointment of the judges? For which we have to bring in an idea of the All India Judicial Service. The All India Judicial Service has been in talks for the very long number of years, and when we have the UPSC which conducts the examination for the All India services, for the central services, why not create an institution, and it is this institution which will ensure that we have judges to the High Court as well as the district judges. So what we have to do is to establish an institution which is similar to that of the UPSC. This will conduct the examination, and such an institution will speak to the high courts that are present in the country, speak to the Supreme Court judges, establish a mechanism so that it is able to meet the standards as prescribed by multiple high courts in the country. So establish an institution, conduct an examination, and make sure this process happens on a transparent process so that the very idea of independence of the judiciary and transparency in the system and accountability is taken care into picture. As of now, we know for the fact that judiciary and executive have to be staying independent in order to prevent the interference of the executive into the fold of judiciary. The judiciary has taken multiple steps, and one such step happens to be collegium. But since the collegium is not itself transparent to this whole process of appointment, what we required is the All India Judicial Service, which has to come in place, and this will require an institution to monitor such an examination. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, will Pak law on Kulbhushan Jadhav help India's position? Let us try and understand what is this article all about. But before that, let's have an idea with respect to the background. Kulbhushan Jadhav happened to be a retired Navy officer who was abducted by Pakistan back in the year 2016. What is the viewpoint of Pakistan? Pakistan alleges that Jadhav was involved in the acts of espionage. He was arrested in Balochistan after he happened to enter Pakistan illegally using a fake passport. Pakistan blamed India for sponsoring cross-border terrorism. It targeted Balochistan, says Pakistan. However, India goes on to say that Jadhav was kidnapped from Iran's Chabahar port where he was running a business after retiring from the navy and was abducted by Pakistan. During this entire process, you had the Pakistan military which released the video, and he was also convicted by the military court in Pakistan for charges under Pakistan Army Act of 1952 and the Official Secrets Act of 1923. And during this entire trial, India was seeking permission from Pakistan for the consular access. This was denied to India, and finally the military court in Pakistan awarded Kulbhushan Jadhav death sentence. This is where India immediately approaches International Court of Justice. Why? That is because Pakistan violated Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. One of the important articles under Vienna Convention on Consular Relations happened to be Article 36. What is this Article 36? Let's say, for example, there is one of the individual who is arrested. This arrested individual happens to be a person from one of the countries. So what you would also have is ambassadors. What you will also have consulates in a foreign country. So the consulate and the embassy should be able to access to this particular person. They should be able to speak to this person who is a citizen of their home country, and ultimately they should also be able to arrange legal representation as well. In the present situation, Kulbhushan Jadhav happens to be from India. Consular access was asked. He was asked for protection. He was to be provided the legal representation, which was completely barred by Pakistan. So what does India do? India immediately goes to the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice looks into this particular issue and immediately asks Pakistan not to impose death penalty on Kulbhushan Jadhav and state Jadhav's death sentence. During this entire proceedings, two viewpoints have to be taken into picture. One, the International Court of Justice stays the death sentence, so Pakistan will not be able to impose death penalty on Kulbhushan Jadhav, and at the same time, since Pakistan did not give consular access to India, it also says consular access to India has to be provided. As part of the first principle given by the International Court of Justice, what we have is Pakistan come up with one of the bills. This bill is called as International Court of Justice Review and Reconsideration Bill of 2021. According to this bill, as mandated by International Court of Justice, what it requires is stay on the death penalty. So what is Pakistan doing? It is giving permission to Kulbhushan Jadhav to appear in front of the High Court and also asking Kulbhushan Jadhav to appeal in front of the High Court so that there can be stay with respect to the death penalty. That is one objective. The second objective is also about meeting the consular access which has to be provided to India. However, in the present situation, India goes on to say that this particular legislation is not meeting that parameter where consular access will have to be given. Only first principle is being met, but the second principle of providing consular access is not provided, says India. But why is Pakistan coming up with this initiative right now? That is because they are apprehensive that India might file a contempt notice against Pakistan, which is why they have initiated this particular legislation. We will have more editorials and columns in the near future. We will take up this article in an elaborate way. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, what are the ramifications of the Biden-Xi summit? The article here is speaking about issues that have been existing between United States of America and China. There are three issues that we have to take into picture. One is about the trade issue. Second is about the Taiwan issue. third is about the technology issue. In spite of the recent summit, they're still not able to resolve any of these issues that have been existing between USA and China is what is this article all about. When it comes to the trade relationship, we had United States of America under Trump administration which had imposed massive tariffs on China. This was seen in front of aluminium. This was also seen when it comes to washing machines, steel and multiple other products. This is yet to be sorted out between United States of America and China. Why? Because there is still prevalence of some tariffs which have been imposed on the Chinese products, says this article. Followed by this, we have Taiwan independence issue. What is it? We have China which says that Taiwan is part of the mainland China, but Taiwan says it is wanting to be an independent country. So there is an apprehension because of this friction between the mainland China and the parties in Taiwan. United States of America, to get its own geostrategic significance, might support the independence of Taiwan. So what is happening? China is asking United States of America not to support Taiwan. So this friction that is emanating between United States of America and China is the second major issue. And finally, what we have is the technological dispute when it comes to the 5G technology. Whether it is United States of America which will introduce this 5G technology, give this 5G technology to multiple countries, or it will be China which will be collaborating with multiple countries world over is the major point of dispute. All these issues between United States of America and China is yet unresolved. So this article goes on to say that these issues will have to be sorted amicably, and even if the issues persist, this should not harm other countries, says this article. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. Explain with relevant examples the technological solutions to eradicate manual scavenging. Next question, the transfer of High Court judges by the Collegium is riddled by controversies. In the light of the statement, discuss the solutions to improve and streamline the judicial appointments procedure in India. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Peer review, do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.